Live from KMAX 31.
Dry, windy weather across California, fueling fire danger and forcing power shutoffs. PG&E pulling the plug again to prevent disaster.
I always say everything helps, right? So if it stops one fire or it stops one potential start, it's doing its job.
In Los Angeles, ice raids spark protests and draw a visit from Vice President J.D. Vance.
Is that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have got to stop this craziness. The mayor and the governor are encouraging these far-left agitators.
He's pointing fingers at California leaders as families fear getting swept up in the ICE crackdown.
They just snatching everybody up. Anybody, father, mother, cousin, whatever.
An illegal blow to California's climate policies. The Supreme Court says fuel companies can sue over emissions rules. What this means for our state's clean air fight.
This is Primetime Sacramento.
Yes, it is, and welcome in to Primetime Sacramento. A series of spot fires spark across the region on this first day of summer. Cooler temps, but windy weather means the risk for fires still remains. Thanks so much for joining us here for your only local news at 8 o'clock. That cooler weather blows in thanks to the winds, and that's where we're going to start tonight as we gear up for a gorgeous weekend. It's the threat of fire danger that we're tracking right now. Your reporter Ashley Sharp is here with how crews are really getting ready for not only a dry, but a windy weekend ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Hunter. And as we know, CAL FIRE will be the first to tell you that fire season is year-round here in California. But in these summer months, in the northern part of the state, CAL FIRE says it does start to see that increase in fires, and they spread faster during our summer conditions, especially with windy, dry weather on tap this weekend, prompting that red flag warning we're going to see Saturday and Sunday. Today, crews really got to test their quick response as a handful of vegetation fires popped up all across the region, starting with the Camino fire. You're seeing the video here out in Tuolumne County. This was the largest that we saw today. It spanned just under 200 acres and thankfully didn't threaten any homes or structures. CAL FIRE says heading into the next few days, they are ready to throw everything they have at any fires that might pop up.
Staffing extra equipment, bringing on extra hand crews, staffing our aircraft to be able to respond earlier in the morning than they normally would. Our initial attack philosophy is to keep 95% of all fires at 10 acres or less, and we're usually pretty successful in doing that.
Also today, smaller vegetation fires from West Sacramento to two out in Nevada County and in Rancho Murrieta. None grew larger than 10 acres and all knocked down before they could cause any damage or prompt evacuations. That's exactly what fire crews want to see. I asked CAL FIRE the fire season reminders that they want people to know. First, this weekend, don't be out mowing your lawn or doing work with large equipment when the wind is gusting. That has caused vegetation fires recently, and it's something that CAL FIRE says they want to avoid. Second, they say always evacuate if you happen to be in an evacuation zone if a large fire sparks. Something we saw on Tuesday night out covering the Bonanza fire in El Dorado County. It helps keep their crews focused on fighting fire when they know that people aren't in their homes or driving on the roads when a fire is fast approaching, Hunter.
I mean, so many good tips there, Ashley, and it really seems simple. We can all do our part, especially this weekend as we head into the summer months. Thank you for that. Chief Meteorologist Nick Marianos, of course, also tracking that fire weather conditions. And Nick, I'm curious, so the winds are really going to be what we're watching because it doesn't feel like the heat, at least, is going to be working against us.
Right. Typically, when the temperatures are much higher, the relative humidity is a lot lower. So this go around, we need a change in the wind, right? Because right now it's coming in off the water, so the humidity is not all that low.
Sure.
Which is why we don't have red flag warnings today. Tomorrow, those winds are out of the north, and that's a much drier wind direction. So that will give us the ingredients for red flag conditions, essentially rapid fire growth development. Where? Across the valley. All right, so this does not include the upper parts of the Sierra, the higher elevations at all, at least this go around. Not to say, we're not out of the woods in the higher elevations. Of course, fire weather this time of year with the dry season is always going to be with us. But here's what we are looking at for tomorrow. Temperature-wise, 80s and lower 80s for that matter across much of the valley. Sacramento, 80 degrees, Roseville, 82. So beautiful weather comfort-wise going into tomorrow, the first days of the summer season. But of course, as we bring back full circle here with that fire aspect, we do have those red flag warnings up and down the Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley. Now, where the winds will be strongest tomorrow, the highest gusts combined with the driest air, is going to be along and west of I-5. That's if we were to really highlight the valley, it's along and west of I-5 of where we have to really monitor for potential fire starts tomorrow, Hunter.
All right, of course, right when I start coughing. Nick, thank you. Tens of thousands, excuse me, of PG&E customers sat without power overnight in San Joaquin County. I'm going to figure it out here in a second. Excuse me. While some parts of Tracy and the surrounding areas are under those planned power shutoffs. Okay, Nick, I think I'm good. You're not going to have to step in. I think I got it.
I'm standing by.
No, thank you. You know, you hear the panic in my voice, but no, I'm good. Thank you, Nick. You're looking at the PG&E outage map. So here's what we're talking about here. It's the areas shaded in purple. PG&E says they had to shut the power off for a combination of factors. We're talking those high winds and low humidity. That's what Nick's been tracking as well. Some of the shutoffs, though, were unplanned. And that's really where the concern is rising. It was a ripple effect from the power safety shutoffs, straining the rest of the grid. Your reporter covering San Joaquin County, Carmela Karcher, getting answers on the unexpected outages.
I haven't heard anything from no one. Even the guys on Facebook, on Nextdoor, that were complaining. No one's heard anything. What happened? And I know I told a few people, I was told we weren't in a power outage area because I've got oxygen, so I have to know so I can make other arrangements.
So PG&E says the outage wasn't caused by the nearby planned shutoffs, but it is connected. 4 major transmission lines were shut down as part of the public safety power shutoff. Once those lines were offline, there was no alternate path to handle the extra electricity demand on that specific part of the grid. So in short, the demand just outpaced the supply. But certainly still a concerning situation for people who depend on that electricity for their health. In a matter of just 2 weeks, the city of Fairfield is going to begin enforcing California's new daylighting law. You'll remember that's the ban of parking within 20 feet of most crosswalks, but sometimes the rule really gets confusing. So the city, they posted a video today to try to help drivers understand that change. Take a look.
Which prohibits the stopping, standing, or parking of a vehicle within 20 feet of any unmarked or marked crosswalk, or 15 feet of any crosswalk where a curb extension is present. This existing law also prohibits the stopping or parking within an intersection, on a sidewalk, or crosswalk, or in front of a fire station.
All right, get your tape measures out. So starting July 5th, the Fairfield Police Department is going to start issuing tickets for those violating the law. It applies to every county in California. And of course, it aims to reduce pedestrian deaths by improving visibility at those intersections. All right, heading into the newsroom now where we are checking in with Marley Ginter, my anchor on the CBS 13 side of things, with 3 things to know tonight. Hi, Marley.
Hey there, Hunter. Well, millions of people across the country are preparing for dangerous levels of heat going into the weekend. Temperatures are expected to be in the 90s and then continue soaring from there. The Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast are expected to see triple-digit highs. Health officials are reminding people it is important to stay cool, of course. Heat is the deadliest form of extreme weather in the U.S., killing more than 800 people a year since 1999. A small protest formed outside Dodger Stadium after federal agents tried to enter the ballpark grounds. This happened just hours before the team announced a new program to help immigrant families. On social media, the Dodgers said ICE agents asked permission to enter their parking lots and were denied. Now, ICE responded saying that was false, and the Department of Homeland Security chimed in saying the incident was unrelated to any operation or enforcement. Iran's foreign minister met with European leaders in Switzerland for diplomacy talks. The U.S. was not part of those talks, but President Trump signaled he would be willing to make a deal with Iran. The president also said he would decide within 2 weeks if the U.S. will strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranian foreign prime minister called Israel's attacks on their nuclear facilities a grave war crime.
Certainly escalating there.
It is.
All right, Marley, thank you. All right, time now to toss things over to Brandon Benitez for our first hit of the night. And Brandon, we got a little bit of an awkward reunion that's happening probably sooner than this player was hoping for.
Yeah, I know. Just less than a week before he was traded from his first ever ball club that he won a World Series championship, Rafi Devers, now in San Francisco, already has to face his ex. That's the Boston Red Sox, who are in the Bay Area for a 3-game set. Now, he's 0 for 2 in the game right now as we speak. Giants do have a 3-2 lead over the Red Sox, but Devers was maybe this far from hitting a home run. Like, it was really just a matter of feet, like 4 or 5 feet max.
Oh, man.
So he wasn't able to get it there, but still plenty of game left, of course. But yeah, it was a pretty ugly divorce between Devers and his former team. You know, some drama about him being unwilling to switch positions. Naturally a third baseman. That's where he was at all this time. Instead, they wanted him to play first base because they had their starting first baseman basically lost for the season. He wasn't willing to do that during the season. He said had they come to him during spring training to have him practice and make the switch, he would have been happy to do it. But now, looks like he's potentially going to get a chance to do that with the Giants moving forward.
Okay, all right. Yeah, messy breakup. We never like to see it, but hopefully they make it out of this game on top. All right, Brandon, we know you'll see you back over on the CBS 13 News at 10. Thanks so much. Coming up right here at 8 o'clock, a stabbing on a Sac RT bus stop. Why the employee is now claiming self-defense. And a big blow to California's clean air fight, the ruling that will now allow lawsuits against emission standards. And immigration enforcement fight. ICE is expanding a detention capacity here in California. We're going to tell you about the private plans to transform a state prison.